of the Media Mothership.
All right, you're listening here to Media Mothership on Edge Radio 99.3. Welcome, as always, broadcasting out of Edge Radio Studios here in Nipaluna, Hobart, Tasmania. And of course, on this show, we explore how media can shape our understanding of the world around you. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Craig, usurped in the hierarchy by a special caller who's I've muted now, by Lord Taylor.
Hello.
Yes, Lord Taylor, of course, the title from Scotland.
Yep.
By investing in a small amount of property.
Yes.
and Master Ronan.
Yeah.
Who's been behind the scenes helping with some of the kind of abominations we've been making on the last 2 weeks of AI work, which we'll be going into in more depth in this show. As always, we're streaming on edgeradio.org.au and also via YouTube and Twitch. You can find us by searching Media Mothership. And, of course, on your FM system, 99.3 FM. You can message us in the studio at 0488 11707. Sorry, there's no other 7. Sorry, I'll read that number again. 0488 11707. Or you can chat to us on YouTube and Twitch while we're live streaming. Today's topic, we're going to be looking at some AI news. And as always, we're going into the art of storytelling through some theory. Today we're going to be talking about the inciting incident in structuring stories, as well as playing a small excerpt of the classic Orson Welles' The Hitchhiker to see how it's done well. And then our own increasing literary canon that we're creating through Google
Colab.
So we're using Google Colab. And if anyone's been following us on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube
Twice.
and Facebook, and YouTube twice, well, YouTube Shorts and YouTube,
Oh, yes,
and Facebook, you'd know that we've also been using Midjourney to create images from prompts, which, today we were doing some great prompt work to create images. And this Midjourney, have you used Midjourney yet, Taylor?
Yes, I have, actually. It seems to be the one that's like the most, I suppose, structured. Like, if you put something in there, you're most likely going to get something good out of it. I mean, of course, it might get the hands wrong, but it's not going to go completely off the rails.
So I guess to break it down, Midjourney is a piece of this kind of new wave of software where it's much user-friendly than the other versions I've seen in the past, where you're putting prompts in to create images that the software crunches through, and then you choose and iterate from those images. And you can, what's really fascinating to me are the search terms or the prompt terms that people are using to create, quite interesting bits of work. Through it, you have kind of photorealistic 1950s propaganda poster. We're going to look a little bit over the next few weeks around this disruptive technology, its pros and cons, and dabbling a little bit at some of the news that's coming out around it. But we'll be looking at our own work, picking up the Harry Potter texts we created last week. If you're keen to see those, we've now laid them with images from Midjourney that you can see on YouTube. And today we're embarking upon, destroying good story writing via Sherlock Holmes. We'll get around to. For those that have forgotten the Harry Potter piece, we'll play Harry Potter's Chapter 1 Screeching Pumpkins, just to set the tone, and we'll come back with a little bit of discussion about the AI work we're doing and some news around this AI software. So keep listening here on Edge Radio. As I just get to the next piece, Actually, we might just jump straight into my failed experiment with Harry Potter first, and then I'll come back and play some of the Harry Potter stuff. So this is the Sherlock Holmes piece we tried to set up. This is basically what this example I think is really interesting to show is how noise to signal works. So this was Sherlock Holmes. We'd basically plugged in about 10 Sherlock Holmes scripts from the 1940s and 50s into GitHub to start with. Mm-hmm. And then we moved to Colabs, Google Colabs, using... what was the name of the software we were using for the Google Colabs?
I'm not sure what it's actually called, but it is, instead of the word-based RNN, which I used for the Harry Potter one, this one's a character-based RNN. So it tries to determine what the next character is, as opposed to what the next word's going to be.
Yes.
Oh, we've got some sort of noise.
Well, no, I figured out why I wasn't getting audio from that before. So what we do is we plugged it into that, and what I want to play now is my first attempt at doing this, and just how unintelligible it is. And we'll get around to playing Taylor's version in a second. So this is, again, the Sherlock Holmes AI piece that we created, which is all to demonstrate the first draft of this was like 20 epochs, 20 iterations the computer went through to generate from about 10 Sherlock Holmes drama scripts its own 200 words of this.
The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, by John Straker, was leading at the Temple of the Octagonal Square. Their headquarter of facts as to the local police is still down there. He'll give you any help you may need. Holmes, amazing, the fill of gold is inside it on the fellow, and while I'm so doing, I'll proceed with a good wine. Watson, that sounds like good common sense. Caston, fading in. Well, gentlemen, Mr. Holmes. Holmes, then I suggest you slip them on our friends will live with the Crite in the early 1900s. Perhaps it was private note parenting and cholera. Of course to be letter. Watson, very well. On that Christmas Eve, eh? Holmes, plested, a quarter of an hour to the new year. Sir Ian, doesn't that he should die in the same manner. Music, organ. Muffled out. Announcer, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, the original and immortal stories of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle dramatized anew, with Sir Ralph Richardson as Dr. Watson and Sir John Gielgud that of Sherlock Call Rush and her will.
Yeah. Maybe not the most exciting bit of literature, but what I think it is interesting to see there is, again, that signal to noise ratio, that really did have quite a bit of... For me, there was only one section of it that worked, which was when Holmes said he's going to have a good wine, mm-hmm. and Watson replied, I think that's a good idea. What was really frustrating, and I hadn't realized this is what your next step is, Taylor, is that you take this material that's generated through Google Colabs, like maybe 5% I found intelligible in terms of offering kind of storytelling narrative. You get it to further create these texts, and then you cherry pick from it some material that then you can play back into a drama piece.
Correct.
So what we're going to listen to now is your example of creating this piece. So this was one that you set up, again, with the software?
Yep, I set it up in Colab, and I, instead of the, how many did you do, like 10, 20 epochs?
I've searched and examined...
Sorry, I'm just getting it together. Go on, yes?
Okay, so you did like 10 or 20 epochs or something like that.
20.
I ended up doing, I think it ended up being 60, 65 sort of thing, epochs. And so it was, unlike yours where it's sort of like unintelligible jibber jabber, my one at least had, here's a section, and like it's got the name, what they say, and then sort of like paper rustles. It's at least understood that it has like things that are supposed to be within the framework of a script and things that should not be sort of spoken out loud.
We don't yet have a 3-act structure it's writing. Again, it's not putting monkeys in a room with typewriters and suddenly after X number of centuries they've written collective word of Shakespeare. But, there is dialogue here. So what you've done next is put it through video software, where we've been able to layer on top of it a text to audio generator, which has generated from the script the voice performances that we're going to get. So the voice performances that we're going to hear now are from 2 AI actors. Do you want to tell us a bit about the AI voices you chose and why? Or
okay, well, the AI voices, because we're on radio and we want it to be sort of like you understand what's going on. We've got very much in the same sense as the TV program Elementary. We've got Watson being a woman and Holmes being a man.
So as you're listening along at home, you'll hear a female voice, which is Watson's voice. You hear a male voice, which we've chosen the UK AI as Holmes. And is there a setting here that we need to introduce? Like this is like they're at the end of an investigation. I mean, there's I guess this is for the listener to decide, right?
Yeah,
so this is Sherlock Holmes. This is from radio dramas, which are all within the genre of detective fiction. So as you're listening at home, try and see if you can work
out what's happening.
What is happening in this dialogue? Is it a genre piece? Is there actually detective work going on here? And it's interesting to me as I'm listening as well, what are the tropes? Like, are there any noticeable Sherlock Holmesian tropes that are there? Like, he doesn't say Elementary, my dear Watson, but are there similar kind of moments of like, oh, well, this is kind of Sherlock Holmes' performance. So let's hear now.
This is Sherlock Holmes and the Subsiding Scuffle. Is the title. Yeah.
And the Subsiding Scuffle. Why Subsiding Scuffle? Was that something that generated the AI?
Yes, the AI did generate that. I put in sort of like a prompt phrase. I did Sherlock Holmes and it came up with Subsiding Scuffle.
Great. That's a really good idea to start it off with.
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes and I'm going to have to do that at home. All right, so here we go. I think I've got the technology working on this end now. This is Sherlock Holmes and the, what was it?
Subsiding Scuffle.
It just rolls off the tongue.
I've searched and examined everywhere, but I still haven't found Santa Claus.
What about his hat, Watson?
No, I have not found his hat.
Come on, Watson, we need his hat. If you rub it 5 times, your foot turns to stone and he appears under the table.
You're a scoundrel, Holmes, and a rat, a silly boy and a bell-ringing slippery pencil manager.
Please sit, my dear goose.
What? On this canoe?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Rush. I just want to ask you a couple of questions. Did you steal the diamond and ruby chicken?
Holmes, of course not. Do you want a biff on the nose?
No, I want to sing Good King Wenceslas.
You mean Good King Wenceslas of the Octagonal Square?
No, I mean Mrs. Crabapple of the Vinegar Police.
Holmes, do you have the Christmas measles by chance?
Of course. However did you know?
Well, you've soiled your father's hand, broken your wife and have a French accent.
Well done, my dear sir.
I do like the French accent at the end. What did you think about that?
Well, I made it up, so I kind of enjoy it, I guess.
It did perform some aspects of detective work. I think there was you've definitely re-edited it into a way that there is a point, and weirdly it's Watson that seems to do the detective part at the end, right? Watson says something along the lines of, your what is it he accuses Watson accuses Holmes of being some
a scoundrel and a rat, a silly boy and a bell ringing slippery pencil manager.
Yeah, so I don't feel the AI has effectively, because it's interesting in those original scripts. Watson is very much a buffoon, a kind of, he doesn't really come to the right conclusion, and he's always asking silly questions. Whereas here, the Watson does seem to be a lot more assertive, almost Holmesian, I would say. So I think there's a bit of slippage there with the AI attributing certain mannerisms to Watson.
It's also worth mentioning that most of what Holmes said, I've retained as Holmes's voice. However, with Watson, there have been hundreds and hundreds of different characters that I've smashed together to make Watson say those things.
Yes. Yeah, right. Because I was a little confused as I was listening to it, whether or not Watson was in fact guilty of something. Like Holmes seemed to be. But, look, even those moves of Holmes interrogating, accusing, are within that genre of detective work. So we can see at a very surface level, there are aspects of detective fiction at work in this AI piece. I was going to say, for the theory of unpacking this text, we should use the rose, thorn, banana concept. Do you know anyone ever come across the rose, thorn, banana concept here?
Rose, thorn, banana?
Yeah.
Who's that?
What's the rose, thorn, banana concept?
A good thing, a funny thing, and a bad thing, basically.
Yeah, so the rose is, what of... And they use this as a way... If you're struggling in interpersonal communication at dinner, like you're in a shared house or a family, you do a rose, thorn, banana move to get an actual conversation occurring. So you ask someone, what was your rose today, your thorn today, and your banana today? What was something that you were really happy with? Your rose. What was something that didn't work out, or you were a bit sad about, the thorn, and what was just a funny, bizarre thing which happened, the banana. And I'm thinking we could use this apparatus more effectively to analyze AI writing than actual storytelling technique. So for me, I do think that there was... my rose is that there was actually genre interplay.
Okay,
that there was a bit of performance of detective work, which was reassuring because, yes, I will be creating my own new and improved version, better than the one that I played earlier. Was there anything there that you thought was particularly good?
My rose?
Yes, from the Sherlock Holmes piece. We can listen to it all again.
Well, I think for me, it's the word canoe. Because the word canoe does not actually appear in the original scripts. However, because it's a character-based recurrent neural network, it just came up with that word by itself.
See, for me, that makes me feel that we should have safeguards on this project. That when we think the AI is becoming self-aware and attaining singularity, we can press a big red button to shut it down before we lose humanity. Because, right, so you're saying that this AI program is actually exceeding its input parameters that we gave it.
Mm-hmm.
You say that as if that's a good thing.
Yes, it is a good thing. It's a fascinating thing.
It is fascinating. So yes, so canoe's there. So it is interesting when there are terms that come in, and we found that in our both our versions, the octagonal.
Yes, the octagonal square for some reason came up as well.
And octagonal squares are preposterous geographical objects, and aren't in the Holmes scripts that we used. So
yeah.
Both of them suggest to me a kind of subversive act of communication, which is setting up some cult parameters, to my mind. So very odd, very odd. So I do think that's bizarre. I mean, the most absurd thing I found in this piece. What did you find absurd about this? What was a banana moment?
Banana moment. A bell ringing slippery pencil manager.
Right, yeah, because that's what Watson accused Holmes of being.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do feel that we can be much more creative with our insults based on how clever the AI is here. So yeah, I do feel like I was underplaying that. Yeah. Banana, thorn. What was the worst thing about this?
The worst thing about this was probably... I mean, it's not a worst thing, but it's like
what
the amount of...
do with the most improvement?
I think trying to make a story out of it. a better story out of it. It was really difficult. It's so difficult to look through and find this sort of stuff. But yeah, I think putting it through more epochs so it gets more intelligent, if that's what we want, and I think that would help it. Yeah.
In the business, this is called training the program, right?
Training program.
The epoch moves. So yeah, we're training up this Google Colab bit of software with getting it to kind of crunch through these Sherlock Holmes scripts. You got it to do 60 times, and then it still generated quite a bit of nonsense, but then through human actor, your own intervention, you then re-edited it up into something that is a little more passable, still absurd, which I think is part of the charm of this.
I hope so.
But yeah, look, I mean, and again, what's really interesting, I think, in terms of applying theory to practice that we're trying on Media Mothership today, is taking these ideas of what the impact of this easy-to-access software is like in terms of radio. So here, of course, we're aping the tradition of radio drama, but taking this shortcut of getting the AI to do all the initial drafting work. So basically, we've had the AI grinding away in what's considered to be some of the finest radio drama, the early 1940s, 50s Sherlock Holmes dramas, and then seeing what it can produce to us as a draft, which then we can come and kind of edit up into something listenable. As you've heard from the example with broadcast, that listenability is more David Lynch dream logic than actually going to threaten radio drama professionalism in the near future. But, for me, I think, part of the charm is the fact that it still has the fingerprints of AI randomness through it, that kind of signal-to-noise ratio. The noise of these pieces is so loud that there's no sense of kind of the uncanny valley, like that thing of like this seems so computer-based yet so human. That kind of moment of existential angst you can be left in as you're looking at, Tom Hanks from Polar Express, right? So we're nowhere near that Polar Express moment yet. I do feel this is a very early moment. It's very unusual. We'll play it once more because I think people are kind of very keen to hear it again.
Okay.
After we've unpacked it. Then we might go to some news. So this again is the Sherlock Holmes, first chapter of our Sherlock Holmes radio drama titled...
Oh.
I can't remember the title.
Sherlock Holmes and the Subsiding Scuffle.
I've searched and examined everywhere, but I still haven't found Santa Claus.
What about his hat, Watson?
No, I have not found his hat.
Come on, Watson, we need his hat. If you rub it 5 times, your foot turns to stone and he appears under the table.
You're a scoundrel, Holmes, and a rat, a silly boy and a bell-ringing slippery pencil manager.
Please sit, my dear goose.
What? On this canoe?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Rush. I just want to ask you a couple of questions. Did you steal the diamond and ruby chicken?
Holmes, of course not. Do you want a biff on the nose?
No, I want to sing Good King Wenceslas.
You mean Good King Wenthethel of the Octagonal Square?
No, I mean Mrs. Crabapple of the Vinegar Police.
Holmes, do you have the Christmas measles by chance?
Of course. However did you know?
Well, you've soiled your father's hand, broken your wife and have a French accent.
Well done, my dear sir.
All right, I want to play my Sherlock Holmes once more, because that was a 60 epoch Sherlock Holmes drama that we just heard then.
Yep.
This is a 20 epoch Sherlock Holmes drama, so with no editing. So here's the Sherlock Holmes piece that I created.
The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, by John Straker, was leading at the temple of the Octagonal Square. Their headquarter of facts as to the local police is still down there. He'll give you any help you may need. Holmes, amazing, the fill of gold is inside it on the fellow, and while I'm so doing, I'll proceed with a good wine. Watson, that sounds like good common sense. Caston, fading in. Well, gentlemen, Mr. Holmes. Holmes, Then I suggest you slip them on our friends will live with the Crite in the early 1900s. Perhaps it was private note parenting and cholera. Of course to be letter. Watson, very well. On that Christmas Eve, eh? Holmes, plested, 1/4 of an hour to the new year. Sir Ian, doesn't that he should die in the same manner. Music, organ. Muffled out. Announcer, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, the original and immortal stories of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle dramatized anew, with Sir Ralph Richardson as Dr. Watson and Sir John Gielgud that of Sherlock Call Rush and her will.
I do like how mine ends with basically the proper radio drama introduction to the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but then it stumbles at the very last word, which is Sherlock, and it gets she-lock and the hills of something. Just loses it. But yeah, look, I mean, you can definitely tell the difference there between 2030 and Fox. All right.
The Temple of the Octagonal Square.
Was that mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think mine was much clearer in the subversive cult this AI is trying to introduce to the world, the Octagonal Square. I'm going to keep an eye on that. Again, I think we need to introduce, much like Asimov does with the 5 rules of robotics, this idea of, like, the 5 rules of the AI. We're getting to create this. Like, as soon as it starts using my name in one of its pieces, I'm shutting it off.
Yes.
Like, okay, yeah. So so thank you for joining us on our adventure there into the world of AI scripting. We'll be continuing this next week with some further Sherlock Holmes stuff. However, in the meantime, I just wanted to bring this into the real world in terms of some unusual media stories which have come my way around AI as it's booming. So the first piece I want to talk about, and open to any discussion here at the table, is from Gizmondo. This was a article just a few days ago. I love the headline, Microsoft scraps entire ethical AI team amid AI boom. So, which seems a bit unwise, right? So this is as part of the tech giant's ongoing layoffs, the company has cut its ethics and society team, which had focused on aligning AI products with responsible policy. So the article goes on to talk about how Microsoft's currently in the process of shoehorning text-generating artificial intelligence into every single product that it can. So just as we've been playing around the edges of some of the material, AI material produced by Google, as well as Midjourney, Microsoft, of course, is creating this month increasing AI work within its Microsoft software. What's fascinating, though, about this is that the article goes on to say, starting this month, the company will be continuing on its AI rampage. This is Gizmondo's words. AI rampage without a team dedicated to internally ensuring those AI features meet Microsoft's ethical standards. And this was according to a Monday night report from the website Platformer. Microsoft has scrapped its whole ethics and society team within the company's AI sector as part of layoffs from the company. Gizmondo did reach out to Microsoft to confirm the news, and Microsoft spokesperson said the following: Microsoft remains committed to developing and designing AI products and experiences safely and responsibly. As the technology has evolved and strengthened, as has our investment, which at times has meant adjusting team structures to be more effective. And they go on to talk a bit about their restructuring to do this. So look, it is worrying that at the same time AI software is becoming more and more commonplace. Microsoft scrapped their entire ethics AI team. It does feel a little bit like we're going to have Mary Shelley's Frankenstein written in the real world. Hopefully we're on that cutting edge and creating our own Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah.
Just getting out ahead. We should, of course, as we've said, with instituting some flag terms, shutting the project down, we should, of course, always operate ethically. And within that, mainly it's in terms of actually acknowledging the proprietary and commercial copyright material that we're engaged with. The great news with the Sherlock Holmes piece is that in January 1st, 2023, so January this year, the entire Sherlock Holmes canon fell into public domain. So we're doing this completely ethically in terms of copyright and public domain access. The Sherlock Holmes piece that we've created is all those characters now, including Moriarty, are in the public domain. So where our hands are wonderfully free, and we are now, creating back to the vernacular the Sherlock Holmes experience. I think we're adding our own particular.
Exactly, we're translating it for a new generation.
That's right, with our AI overlords. So that's a really interesting piece. The next bit of news, also from Gizmondo, which I love. Both these are kind of cautionary tales. This story is a student used ChatGPT to cheat in an AI ethics class. I should have a little stinger there. Let me try that again. A student used ChatAI to write an essay in an ethics class. I need a better stinger for that. Yeah, it needs to be more dramatic. I'll get one. I think that an AI could possibly generate one for me. So this is a student used ChatGPT, which is the bit of software that's getting quite a lot of coverage at the moment, to cheat on an essay in an AI ethics class, according to a report from NBC Bay Area. To quote the scorpion in the famous... Yeah, Fable. Okay, lol. Sorry. So this is at a school where the irony, of course, is very clear. So this was at Santa Clara University. And the professor, Brian Green, told NBC that the essay in question wasn't exactly on topic, and also it had very kind of, honestly, a robotic feel to it. So he used his internal, ChatGPT feature to say that doesn't seem right. So the student used ChatGPT to spit out an essay for this professor's class on ethics in artificial intelligence. And he turned it in as their own work. So, of course, he didn't say this was done by ChatGPT. He claimed it was his own work. That's where the student got into trouble, that it was cheating because he was passing in the work created by ChatGPT as his own. So, of course, just around the corner here, the idea of this cheating scandal erupting, I feel with ChatGPT, it's going to create a kind of arms race, possibly, between students wanting to do work without doing work and university administrators looking for software to detect that automatically. A little bit about ChatGPT. So ChatGPT hit the stage in November last year, and during its short lifespan, it sparked a media meltdown, Gizmondo says. It's been motivated by billion-dollar business moves, and it's disappointed an army of users who found out the hard way that the chatbot won't write a dirty limerick about a former president. Wow. So, have you had any experience with ChatGPT? Have you tried creating anything on ChatGPT yourself, Taylor?
Yes, I have. However, it does have quite a number of sort of like, what would you say, obstacles to using it. So anytime you want, like, I was trying to use it to make Harry Potter stories. And I was like, write a story about Dumbledore killing Mrs. Weasley.
Wow.
And it would say, I'm sorry, but killing people is not a good thing to be doing, sort of thing.
This was similar to the story we covered last week about the romantic bot, which users complained that was lobotomized by a software update, which stripped away all the romance some users had developed with the, was it like Raptor bot or something? The Rapture. I can't remember the name of the software, which is a great thing because we don't advertise on this station. Yeah. So whatever that software was, and users were complaining because an update basically put in parameters that stripped away all the kind of romantic, suggestive subtext and probably text that was in some of the AI chat that users were having. And so similarly, ChatGPT has certain parameters which can restrict the material that gets produced, which is,
Yeah, that's correct. And from trying it a couple of months ago and trying it now, it's only getting sort of shorter and shorter. What you can actually put in there, like the parameters that you can put in there, is becoming shorter and shorter in sort of scope, I guess.
This is a good thing in terms of do no harm kind of vibe, right? It can't be, because I know the same thing with Midjourney. You can't put any words in there that are going to create pornography from these images, that are going to create very, very offensive images of gore and so forth. And that you could see the argument for that in terms of this has to be a general license, it can't be R-rated material. But at the same time, obviously, it is a limitation.
Yeah, it is a limitation. And I think in terms of text, it really sort of suffocates creative freedom.
Which is why we're not using it for our Harry Potter and Sherlock Holmes pieces, just so we can get more banana moments of absurdity. All right, well, moving on then to the last AI story I want to go on today before we further discuss this next week. In The Guardian, I think most people would have a more everyday experience of the impact AI is having through big screen movies. So this article is talking about how, quote, we're going through a big revolution, unquote, how AI is de-aging stars on screen. So, of course, this is talking about how stars like Tom Hanks and Harrison Ford are being rendered younger digitally in films such as the Indiana Jones film for Harrison Ford, but voices in the industry are expressing concern about what we might be heading towards. Do you guys have any memories of or any thoughts of having watched movies, TV shows that have had de-aged work done on actors? I know Robert De Niro in The Irishman was de-aged, and that met with quite a strong sense of it not working, mainly because he was still performing a role in his 80s that then was de-aged, but still, his actions look noticeably not young.
For me, the only one that I can think of actually isn't de-aging, but it's recreating a star who has passed away. In
Carrie Fisher in Rogue One,
and
Peter Cushing as well.
That's exactly what I was going to say, both of those.
We're on the same wavelength. And many people complained about those kind of looking a little uncanny valley. Right, so there's a number of like Collider, their YouTube show, takes these examples and unpacks them from an industry point of view and does them better. Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, many people complained that his de-aging, Mark Hamill's de-aging.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
looks a little kind of uncanny. And again, we're using the uncanny valley term to refer to that moment of uncomfortableness as you look at something which is, performing human face, but you know it isn't. I mean, it's close, but because it's so close, it also feels so uncomfortable.
Exactly.
So kind of like it's not working. I'm not actually getting any pleasure of looking at it. It would just be more, I suppose, easier to watch if it was completely a animated or drawn even sort of thing, I think. Yeah, so, in this article, they quote various industry people talking about the impact they fear this might be having on the industry. And they point out, just as AI chatbots from ChatGPT are threatening to upend journalism, speech writing, and school essays, so the article goes on to flag the fear that AI could turn digital de-aging from something that requires many months of highly skilled artists to something that many people can do in their bedrooms, which I guess is what we're playing around with today, that we in our bedrooms have been creating radio dramas, in a short period of time that would normally require quite a lot of talented work. And within that talented work, of course, the fact that you're working in a team means you'll have probably a bit of product than just an AI echo chamber. I just want to read this quote from Olkan Tan, a German-born visual effects supervisor who's based in LA, and he reflects by saying, We're going through a big revolution. This is like the invention of nuclear power. This is a big deal. It's underestimated and overlooked. Currently, it feels like, oh boy, this is a toy. It's awesome. Look what we can do. But this is just the start of a big change to our economic structure, because it will do a lot more than normal humans can do. And previously, we've looked at some interesting stories, including the one by talking about
What are you thinking
the
of?
musician
Nick Cave?
Nick Cave. Ugh, sorry, I forgot. Nick Cave, the great Australian musician, who was sent a music created by an AI in the manner of Nick Cave. And again, Nick Cave's point was that this simply is not coming from a place of suffering and hardship that lends any lyric a depth and reflective experience, that the AI is always going to be cursed by being replaced by what's new. It's never a kind of completed experience. So there are a number of really interesting voices coming out in this debate, talking about the disruption of it, the value of human interaction within this space and human voices in a space where possibly, we're losing an appreciation of that human interaction. Possibly.
Good point.
But yeah, again, what's really interesting is bouncing back and forth from these stories to some of the interesting experiments we're doing here as well on Media Mothership on Edge Radio. All right, welcome back here to Edge Radio, Media Mothership. We're about 10 minutes away from the top of the hour. And we might just play the next 5 minutes of The Hitchhiker. This was the Orson Welles radio drama from the 1950s. It's considered one of the landmark bits of radio drama. And we're going to use it as a bit of a palate cleanser, as I said last week, to enjoy actual human labor creating effective storytelling. So in the first 5 minutes, we heard our main protagonist, voiced by Orson Welles, about to embark on a kind of cross-country American trip for work. And as the title suggests, he's on the road, and there's this idea of the hitchhiker. So in this next section, we'll only play the next 5 minutes as a palate cleanser. We'll listen to what that's setting up. But keep listening, because it's coming up soon. We have K-Pop Unlimited with Taylor.
At least you remembered my name after a while.
Taylor, well, do I introduce you as Lord Taylor? But keep listening to Edge Radio 99.3. If you would like to know more about the material we've been broadcasting, we'll have show notes up on YouTube, as well as the Facebook page for Media Mothership. If you've found it interesting listening to pop culture discussions, we do have some other shows on Edge Radio, like Millennial Think every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and Pop Topic Taz at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, as well as the Diceman on Sunday afternoon, I want to say. So do check those out on Edge Radio as well. And we have a Discord. So,
yes, we do.
So do jump onto that. You can get the link through the Facebook page and YouTube page of Media Mothership. Yep. All right. So here's The Hitchhiker, minute 4:59.
But I do hate to see you go.
I'll be back. It'll only be on the coast 3 months.
Oh, it isn't that. It's just the trip. Ronald, I wish you weren't driving.
Oh, Mother, there you go again. People do it every day.
I know, but you'll be careful, won't you? Promise me you'll be extra careful. Don't fall asleep or drive fast or pick up any strangers on the road.
Oh, gosh. I think I was still 17 here, you told.
Oh, And wire me as soon as you get to Hollywood. Won't you, son?
Of course I will. Don't you worry. There's nothing going to happen. It's just 8 days of perfectly simple driving on smooth, decent, civilized roads with a hot dog or a hamburger stand every 10 miles. I was in fine spirits. The drive ahead of me, even the loneliness, seemed like a lark. I reckoned without him. Crossing Brooklyn Bridge that morning in the rain, I saw a man leaning against the cables. He seemed to be waiting for a lift. There were spots of fresh rain on his shoulders. He was carrying a cheap overnight bag in one hand. He was thin, nondescript, with a cap pulled down over his eyes. I would have forgotten him completely, except that just an hour later, while crossing the Pulaski Skyway over the Jersey Flats, I saw him again.
Dumbledore bellowed and shot curses.
He looked like the same person. Standing now with one thumb pointing west. I couldn't figure out how he got there, but I thought probably one of those fast trucks had picked him up, beaten me to the Skyway, and let him off. I didn't stop for him. Then late that night, I saw him again. It's on the new Pennsylvania Turnpike between Harrisburg and Pittsburgh. It's 265 miles long with a very high speed limit. I was just slowing down for one of the tunnels when I saw him, standing under an arc light by the side of the road. I'd seen quite distinctly the bag, the cap, even the spots of fresh rain spattered over his shoulders. He hallooed at me this time. Hello! Hello! I stepped on the gas like a shot. It's lonely country through the Alleghenies, and I had no intention of stopping. Besides, the coincidences, or whatever it was, gave me the willies. Stopped at the next gas station.
Yes, sir.
Fill her up.
Certainly, sir. Check your oil, sir?
No, thanks.
Nice night, isn't it?
Yes. It hasn't been raining here recently, has it?
Not a drop of rain all week.
Oh? Oh, I suppose that doesn't done your business any harm.
Oh, people drive through here all kinds of weather. Mostly business, you know. There aren't many pleasure cars out on the turnpike this season of the year.
I suppose not. What about hitchhikers?
Hitchhikers here?
What's the matter? Don't you ever see any?
Not much. If we did, it'd be a sight for sore eyes.
Why?
Oh, I'd be a fool who started out to hitch rides on this road. Look at it.
Then, you've never seen anybody?
No. Maybe they get the lift before the turnpike starts. I mean, you know, just before the toll house. But then it'd be a mighty long ride. Most cars wouldn't want to pick up a guy for that long a ride. And you know, this is pretty lonesome country here. Mountains and woods. You ain't seen anybody like that, have you?
No. Oh, no, not at all. I was just a technical question.
I see. Well, that'll be just $1.49 with the tax.
So gradually passed through